All right, well, good afternoon. We appreciate you coming out. Today, we're going to talk about a murder case that was solved. The arrest was made yesterday midday. It involves a victim from the Palmetto Apartments here in Beaufort. This is a 1987 homicide case. It's been an ongoing investigation, ever since 1987. But in 1999, when I took office, one of the things that I started was a cold case review, an investigative team, and I had Bob Bromage, who is a retired major with the Sheriff's Office. He's now Public Safety Director at the town of Hilton Head. He's also a reserve deputy here at the Sheriff's Office, and he's maintained his work as a reserve officer, working on a lot of the cold cases that, and many of them have been solved over the years, but we're very, very happy that this particular case from 1987 was solved, and the person is being held in custody now at the Beaufort County Jail, and his name is Cortez Sabino Lake. He is now 76 years old. Bob is here, and I'm going to let him talk about the case along with Adam Drayson, who has been working with Bob on this case. And Adam, I think you're the one that made the arrest yesterday and served the warrant. But again, this is a case 38 years old, matter of fact, 38 years and a few weeks old. We're very, very proud and very, very happy that our Beaufort County Sheriff's Office DNA lab has been able to come through again and provide us the evidence that we need to move forward in some of these investigations. Our lab does a wonderful job. They're very, very busy, and we're very proud of the work that they do. So I'm gonna let Bob give you a rundown on this case, and then and whatever Bob wants to have Adam do as well, and then we'll answer whatever questions you may have after that. Okay? Thank you. Bob Bromage.
Good afternoon. As Sheriff Tanner said, when he was first elected in 1999, he got elected in 98, took over in 99, we started the cold case program. Since we've solved 4 cases and have partial resolution in another case from 1995. I will say this: stable, progressive leadership leads to the successful resolution of these cases. Changing leadership, it may get lost in transition. So having an active cold case program for 26 years now has been very effective. And I want to acknowledge Sheriff Tanner's leadership and the leadership of Mark Orlando, the Hilton Head Island town manager, for supporting this program. We're here to talk about Margit Schuller, 34 years old. First, a little bit about Margit. Margit was from Hungary, which was as her husband described, a communist country back in the early 80s. They were able to get to Austria and then were given access to the United States, where Margit was a cardiac care nurse. Joseph, her husband, was in the Navy as a corpsman, and when this occurred on November 1st of 1987, Joseph was deployed for training in San Diego for a few weeks, and then got the news about his wife's death. So the case facts: on November 1, 1987, between the hours of 8:15 and 8:45, Margit Schuller was doing laundry at the Palmetto Apartments laundromat for her 12-year-old daughter. She left her daughter at the house, which was in proximity to the laundromat, went over, was doing laundry. A witness saw her in the laundromat folding clothes. That was the last time she was seen alive. Her daughter was wondering where her mother was at 8:45, 12-year-old. Found her beneath a tree in a pool of blood, deceased. Sheriff's Office responded. Deputies responded to the scene along with EMS. They pronounced her dead at the scene. Of particular note, in the initial investigation, there was a trail of blood leaving the laundromat for 100 or 200 yards in the direction of Battery Creek Apartments. Margit Schuller lay dead right outside the laundromat as the incident. She was shot actually inside the laundromat and crawled her way out. The blood trail bifurcated from her blood trail, leading us to believe the suspect was injured during the incident. Wounded. We're not sure how he was wounded at this point, but we know he was injured as he left a blood trail, and big 90-degree blood drops that were collected by detectives. Now, back in '87, there wasn't DNA. There was blood typing, so that was not as specific and sensitive as the technology we have today. So when the sheriff took over, initially looked at the evidence, we did not have a forensic services laboratory at the time. That started in 2010. So we had to go to the state lab, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. They did a super job. They had a super team up there. They looked at this with the newest technology. Before 1999, you needed a big spot of blood. In 1999, you needed only a minute amount of DNA to be able to produce a robust profile. They attempted. The technical leader, his name was Gray Amick. He was a doctor, a PhD. He said, Bob, I see the blood, but I can't develop a profile. I don't know why, but if you resubmit it in a few years, we should have better technology. Well, Gray went on to run the lab at the Richland County Sheriff's Office, which is in Columbia. And we conversed about this case again. He said, I want another try. So we submitted the blood back to Gray Amick. He developed a profile in 2005. It went into the Combined DNA Index System, which is also known as CODIS, which is the convicted offender database back then. And it continues today. It's a little bit more robust. You have more people in there, obviously, than you did back in 2005. Well, no match returned, so frustrating stumbling block, but you continue on. We had possible persons of interest, 3 or 4 of them back then. We were able to eliminate them through DNA analysis. And then in 2019, started hearing about the Golden State Killer. What can we do here to move this case forward? Okay, Parabon Nanolabs was successful in identifying the Golden State Killer through familial relationships. So sent it to Parabon. They they conducted a DNA analysis, and also they prepared a composite that you're seeing right here. That is done through their DNA. Don't ask me how they do it, but I'm glad they do it. If you notice, there's a great similarity to the subject. So we have a cold case volunteer program that we run out of Hilton Head Island, and we have volunteers that step up to the plate. I have a particular volunteer that, you talk about volunteerism. I mean, it's amazing the amount of hours, the countless hours that go into this. She was able to identify Maria Teles Gonzalez in 2022. She had been an unidentified murder victim for 27 years. Amazing. So after that case, she goes, Bob, I'd like to try this case because we already have the results back from Parabon. So she starts working on it, and it's time consuming. But again, she's not being paid, so thankful for her. So, anyways, coming around to this fall or this spring, Adam and I were in conversation. This is the first partner I've had on a cold case, and he's been super. He's full-time with the sheriff's office. So we get together, and he goes and sees the subject. And not to get into too much, but we did not receive cooperation from that, what we were looking for. We brought him back in. This time I came over from Hilton Head, and we sat with the subject. Again, did not want to cooperate, but we were able to obtain DNA, not with his cooperation, but we obtained DNA, submit it to the Forensic Services Laboratory. DNA analysts called me back a few days later, and that's the beauty of having a lab here too. It's speediness of it. I mean, you get turnaround like that. Called me back a few days later and asked me if I was going out for a lottery ticket. Because this guy's in it. He goes, he's in. Let's get him. It was just great news to start with, right? So, I mean, resolution to the case. We obtained a search warrant from a circuit court judge to compel Cortez Lake to provide DNA. We collected that, and again, about a week later, a match in the septillions, which is explained to me by the DNA analyst as 24 zeros behind the number. So this is a very robust profile, excellent evidence. We still continue the investigation. I mean, we're not done at time of arrest. We're done when the case is disposed of in court. So we are still looking for information from the public on Cortez Lake. There are many people in this community that know him. They may have some information that we need. So we're asking them to call me, call Adam Drayson, or submit the tip to Crime Stoppers. So again, it's very proud to continue to serve the sheriff and of course, the town of Hilton Head Island, and pleased to report the successful resolution of this case. You want to say anything?
Just to follow up with what you said, Mr. Lake has lived in Beaufort County ever since this incident occurred, so we believe that there are people out there that would have information. So we really encourage people to come forward and tell us whatever they might know about him or anything that's happened since the murder occurred.
Tom, why don't you tell them a little bit about Cortez Lake?
Cortez Lake, thank you, sir. Cortez Lake was in the military. He was a Navy corpsman stationed at Parris Island as a dental clinic, I guess they call it, back in 86, 87, 88. Was discharged in 88. Lived at the Battery Creek Apartments during his tenure in the military, and I'll go through the map real quick with you here. We don't have it. Okay, disregard. He lived between 600 and 800 feet from the laundromat. Margit Schuller probably lived about 50 feet from the laundromat. He would have known who Margit Schuller was. He would have had access to the laundromat. We were able to establish he did live there. That was not something he offered. So that's something that we were able to determine through documents. And one of the hardest things about a case that going back to the 80s is the documents. You know, like real estate documents or rentals and things like that. They dispose of those within 5 or 10 years by law. They don't have to keep them. So everything's been shredded. So you have to really go back, get the military record, and we were able to put them here at that time.
And he then was employed at Beaufort Memorial Hospital?
He was employed at Beaufort Memorial Hospital as a respiratory therapist and retired after 30-some-odd years. He's been in this community that long. Any questions? Yes, exactly.
So is there a motive? Do we know why?
We believe sexual assault was the motive in this case. There was evidence found at the scene, and the victim, of course, her appearance when she was found, that would indicate sexual assault was going to be the motive. So, yes, sir.
So he was just hiding in plain sight?
He was. It's not the first time it's happened. And again, thankful for DNA.
And was he interviewed, like, at the very beginning? Were people in the apartment complex interviewed?
They were. I have a feeling he was absent when that occurred, but they were interviewed. The original detective is still alive, and we're in contact with him. And this is fresh blood leading from the scene. This is not some dried up. This is directly as a result of the crime. Yes, sir.
Is there any evidence or any thought that he may have committed other crimes? I mean, it seems fairly unusual that this just happens once.
That's a great question, and we are looking into Cortez Lake, and that's why we're looking for information from the public. Oftentimes, this is not a one and done, as we know, as we've seen in the past. And if you look at Isaiah Gadsden, he was charged in 1980, murder of David Krulowitz and a rape of a teenage girl. There were additional victims that came forward afterwards, and he was actually arrested for a rape afterwards. So, yeah, a very good possibility. There may be other things out there that we're looking to find out.
Aside from that, are there any other aspects of this case that you're hoping to get more information on?
Again, Cortez Lake specifically. You know, he's been living with this for more than 38 years. Is there a chance he told somebody about it? Absolutely.
Was he single? Did he have family?
He is, his living arrangements, he lives with a woman right now. Yeah, it did.
Additional charges of it, or could there be additional charges in it?
Depending on what we find out moving forward, there absolutely could be, but at this point, the murder is the appropriate charge, and if a crime were committed today, he'd be charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of violent crime, but that was not in play back in 1987. We did recover the murder weapon in 1989 on a building site on Highway 21. It was matched at the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division to a casing recovered from the laundromat.
And it was an older type gun, wasn't it?
It was. Older type gun with no record on it because it was so old. Right. Made in France. Apparently the manufacturing plant burnt down some years later. Sir, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Have you spoken to her family?
I spoke with her husband yesterday. And
What she said?
he's thankful. This devastated his life. It did, and his daughter. So there's real victim impact here that, you know, just, yeah. I mean, again, he's thankful. He inquired who it was. He doesn't remember being acquainted with Cortez Lake, but again, he lived in the same neighborhood, so. There were other people that lived in Battery Creek Apartments back then in 1987. I'd love to talk to those people.
Bob, I have two questions for you.
Sure.
The first is, what does this feel like coming in front of us, being able to announce this news of something you've been working on for so long?
It's amazing. I mean, this is really important work, and I'm just proud to be part of it. And Adam and I have been working closely together on this, and I know he's excited about it as well, yeah.
And then the second question, sorry, more of a technical question. You said that at first when you spoke with Cortez Lane, he was not as forthcoming with information and did not want to provide DNA, but you said you somehow obtained that?
We did.
Are you able to
We did.
clarify what that means?
Well, right. Adam and I came up with a plan, and it worked, so, yeah.
Okay.
So Bob, what was his reaction when you knocked on his door the first time?
Very flat affect, didn't he? Yeah.
He was surprised the first time
Okay.
we knocked on his door. Wasn't very surprised after that.
Yeah, the subsequent visits, he was, yeah.
How many cold cases, so you said this is the fourth that you guys have solved under this new,
Yes.
how many more are open?
We've got more than 30, spanning the years from 1972 all the way to today. And a lot of the ones that are unsolved, there's just very little forensic evidence there. You know, DNA came into play, and it's really effective in looking at cases from the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s. But nowadays, if there's DNA, it's solved pretty quick.
Has that same testing been used on some of those cases from like back in the set, like you guys are like, oh, it worked here?
Absolutely, yeah. The Parabon, using Parabon and their mentorship, they were effective in 2 of our cases, and that's only 2 I can really think that they would have an interest in, because we know who the victims are and we know who the suspects are or whatever, so. This, ma'am? No.
Are there any cases right now that you're currently using some of that technology to solve?
That is, no, we're not using it on any cases right now, no. But again, it's proven to be very effective. I mean, this is 2 cases that have some sort of resolution to it, and within a couple of years, so yeah.
Do we know any more about his, I'm sorry if you already answered this, but his criminal history other than this?
There's very little there. He would not have been on the radar as a murder suspect. And he was not on the radar from the beginning, going back to that. He wasn't even named, so,
Okay.
yes.
So, if the technology that is available now has not been available, he would have never been, he may not have.
There's a good possibility of that. There's a very good possibility of that. And again, having stable leadership in the sheriff's office since 1999, we were able to continue the work where it's not lost somewhere in transition, like I said. So, yes, sir.
So he was booked yesterday.
He was.
Was there a bond hearing this morning? I didn't see anything in the public index.
He was deferred to a circuit court judge,
Sure.
so he's still being held, yes.
Will this mugshot be made public? I understand it's not on the website.
It's,
I will be sending,
Yeah.
I'll send it to y'all if you don't have that. Thank you.
that's it right there, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Any other questions?
I have, in speaking with the victim's husband, how did he describe her?
Oh, as the rock of the family, the heart of the family, wonderful mother. Yeah.
Well, they may have another one, but just don't get too far. I mean, the husband at the time of the murder was on deployment. He was also in the Navy, and he was on deployment. We're going to stress again the importance of science, and that's kind of the future for law enforcement. I mean, we've been talking about this now. We've been talking about firearms. We've been talking about DNA. We've been talking about all the other stuff. And, you know, I was working, I mean, I remember this case because I was actually running the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office Drug Task Force at the time, and we worked late hours. And when that call came out at this particular location, I and my team at the time went out to assist in whatever way we could, so I remember the case. So when I look back on a case, and I started in the sheriff's office in 1981, so I was fairly new to the sheriff's office when this murder occurred, and you look back on something that you clearly remember happened, and Johnny Wayne Foskey was the lead investigator on this case, and now here we are talking about a case today that was solved through science. One that I remember quite well, and today we're able to talk about a person that's being held accountable for a murder that was committed over 38 years ago. As science and technology improves, and it improves every day, Bob was saying some of the things that were done early on in the investigation, let's keep trying because technology is getting better, and what we can't do today, we may be able to do next month or next year. We're always looking at our cold cases to see if there's things scientifically today that we're able to utilize to resolve some of those cases. And hey, look, there's no perfect case. There's no perfect crime. So it requires law enforcement to use the skills that we all have, but it requires us to also look at science and technology, because science and technology is the future of what we do. Adam's been an investigator for a long time, as well as Bob, and they remember when they started this job and what science was available compared to where we're at today. And we have this conversation with our new investigators all the time, because technology today, we didn't have any of that, those many years ago. It's kind of like hearing your parents say, well, when I grew up, I had to walk to school in the rain with no shoes type scenario. When I started this job, there was no science available to what we did. We had to rely on fingerprints or confessions or eyewitness testimony. Today, that's quite different than what it was back then. So every case is solvable. There's not any case out there that's perfect. It just requires the linkage of, like in this particular case, Bob I think he's made it crystal clear that now that Cortez Lake has been identified in Beaufort County as a person responsible for the murder, in 1987 of Margit Schuller, maybe we'll have people come forward and say, there was something about that day or that week or that month after that crime that just didn't feel right to me, and I need to get it off my chest and tell you what I heard, what I saw, what I felt. And those kind of things lead us into another direction. There could be other victims. Sexual assault victims are not willing most of the time to come forward. Because of the crime itself. So maybe there are other victims of Cortez Lake that now that they know that he is in jail facing a murder charge, that they will come forward and report their case whenever that case occurred. So they're still work in progress. And we tell our investigators all the time, the investigation doesn't start till the arrest is made. And now we have an arrest in this particular case, which could lead us into other cases. So we're excited about being able to solve this case, as well as the three others, and identifying the female that was left in a ditch in the northern part of Beaufort County many years ago. And as we progress, our science will get better. We started our drug lab in 2004, and then we advanced the drug lab from drugs to DNA in 2010. And we're always looking at technology to make sure that our lab is on the cutting edge. So that's the future of what we do. Any other questions about this group? Go ahead, Chloe.
Sorry, one more question. Would it be accurate to say that Margit fought back against this man?
After talking to Joseph, her husband, yes, that's a fair statement right there.
Can you clarify, sir?
He said she was,
Spirited?
oh, no, more than spirited. It was better than that. I don't know, a Hellcat or something like that. So she was tough, yeah.
When you talked to Blake, you kind of said that he was, not really willing to do DNA or really talk. I mean, did he seem like he felt guilty in any sense?
I'd suggest so. He knows what happened. Margit Schuller knows what happened. Only one of them's alive, so, yeah. Yeah.
When
But-
the name was mentioned to him, was there any sign of recognition?
No. No.
Adam, anything else?
Sure.
Sure.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure, Tom.
So both her husband and Lake were corpsmen,
They were.
both Navy corpsmen?
Both Navy
Was
corpsmen.
there any indication that they had crossed paths anywhere?
I'm sure they have crossed paths, but Joseph doesn't remember, and Cortez will not be offering that, I'm sure. Yep. Lived in the same neighborhood. How many corpsmen were here back then, you know? I mean, they probably all knew each other. He just didn't readily recognize the name.